Hi everyone, once again it's Lovenji here, and welcome back to the second and final time we will be completing two missions within a single video. The missions in question are Continental Divide and Fire in the Mist. The first mission attempts to introduce us to the Fire Warrior, and the latter tries to get us to embrace my favourite technology, the boat. Once again we'll be completing both of these missions with zero regards to the intended strategies. Let's go. So, here we go. We're about to begin Mission 8, Continental Divide. This mission is quite an interesting one when done the intended strategy. It's introducing you to a Fire Warrior. They basically cast a version of the Blast spell from their fists. The easiest way to put them into comparisons to, say, other RTSs is think of them as your basic ranged unit. There's only one in the game, and that's the Fire Warrior. There's not many different unit types in Populous. We've got the Warrior, the Preacher, the Spy, and the Fire Warrior. And the Brave. So, what we're actually going to do is, instead of doing what it wants us to do, we're going to rush a Preacher training hut, and we're going to go and pray at their Vault of Knowledge immediately. You don't actually need to pray at their Vault of Knowledge at all. I do it just in case this goes wrong, and then I have access to the technology. She fortifies the hill pretty quickly, so if you don't get the technology right away, you're going to have to fight through it. And as I mentioned in a previous video, the rules of high ground apply, and taking that hill can be quite annoying otherwise. So yeah, that's a standard notification. If you aren't using your mana efficiently, the game is actually nice enough to try to tell you this. And it does its very best on letting you know when you could be doing things slightly better. So all we need are a couple of Preachers, and then we'll build the tribe as normal, again, just in case it goes horribly wrong. So that cool looking temple is our Fire Warrior training hut. I really like the little tribal style patterns and icons that all the buildings have, and I think the Fire Warrior one is one of my favourites. It's pretty telling for what the unit looks like as well. Which you won't see in this game, I'm afraid. So the Reds actually begin with those 4 warriors, and that's why they very quickly fortify the top of the hill, so you can't run down it with a shaman, like I did. But they don't begin with any Preachers, which is why we rush the Preachers, because then we get to turn those warriors onto our side and win the mission very quickly with the use of their warriors. So what actually happens is, if you leave it long enough, she attacks you from the main pathway, but there's also a path to the east which she attacks you from as well, and she leads numerous attacks. This was the first mission that I actually failed as a kid. I failed this mission about 4 or 5 times. I didn't know about this quick, non-intended strategy, and so I was very much like trying to manage all the attacks, and being a child and not particularly good at RTSs, I ran into some difficulties. I also didn't really know how to deal with the unit type of Fire Warrior back in the day. It's really quite simple these days. Their range is exactly the same as your blasts, so you can actually hit them with a blast. But I used to get really aggravated because they have a small amount of knockback with their ranged attack, and it used to knock the shaman back just far enough that she can't hit them with a blast. And I remember shouting and screaming as a result of that. It was absolutely infuriating. I catch the warriors running in the wrong way and struggle to select them for a little bit, using the follower icon instead. As you can see, very quickly, with only 2 Preachers, we've got complete control of her tribe. We stopped her building the Preacher training hut, which she was very quick to rush, and now all we have to do is just continue to wipe out her population. And these warriors will help us do this relevant structure damage very, very quickly. So yeah, only completed huts can spawn more Braves, so while they're preaching, they have those Braves tied up, and we're destroying the Preacher training hut. Just send the warriors over to destroy those remaining huts so that she isn't producing too many followers. And that's the end of the mission, more or less. It really won't take that much longer. I tried to be smart and time the last wood stage dropping off to the next order and messed it up entirely. So, there you go, that was a predictive shot. We do those all the time. You get very good at them the more you play this game. You can't cast on where the shaman is stood or where she's moving because she has to walk there, and therefore you have to predict where she's going to walk into and strike her down that way. So this mission, what can I say about this mission other than I actually really hate it. This is an upgraded texture pack, by the way, from the Populous Reincarnated website that I'm using. Your game might not look like this if you actually play it. It does some interesting things to some of the textures in some of the later levels, but I also really like that it adds this sort of tribal detail to the sand. But what we're going to be doing is really straightforward. We're going to be doing that thing that everyone loves, and that's rushing. So we're going to be taking the Braves and our beloved Convert spell. We're going to pick up as many Braves as we possibly can, and we're going to wait for the enemy shaman to deliver to us the path to her base, so that we don't even have to research the land bridge spell. What we're doing is just stopping here. We're going to collect some more Braves. You want to look for big packs of wild men. Ideally, 3 is your minimum for a cast. I tried to get 3 there and messed it up. But in terms of the speed of movement to how many you should be getting, 2 to 3 is a good amount. See, we get a comfortable 3 there. There's no set number for this because it's really, a lot of it is down to how you control them. I had the extra spell here, so I tried to pick up 2 here. What you want to make sure is that you've got a good army, and when you invade, you want to control it well. There's not tons to unit control in this game. It's not like StarCraft 2 where you're pulling off these intense micro tricks. That was a lucky 4. You just need to make sure that your units actually stay grouped. You don't want to scatter or separate or anything like that. You'd think scattering and separating helps for the avoiding of shaman spells, but it doesn't help that much. The way the AI casts her spells, if she wants to hit you, she's going to hit you. It definitely pays to spread out in multiplayer matches, but as you can see, she finishes her praying at the totem, and that actually connects our land, much to her demise. So we're going to take all of these followers, and we're going to charge. Or we're eventually going to charge when I manage to select them all. I get a little warning that I'm wasting mana, so I'm going to charge my fireball. Now, this game doesn't use Fog of War very often, but as you can see, this is one of the first missions where it's trying to show us what the Fog of War is. I don't remember exactly how many missions, but I have the impression that it was about 2 or 3 missions actually use Fog of War in the whole game. So it's not one you need to particularly learn about. It is permanent Fog of War, so you only have to explore it once. It's not like the old Age of Empires style, where it would disappear again when you lose sight of it. Once you see it, you can see it. These little dark patches indicate where buildings are. It's a nice little hint. And on the sort of western side, it'll be where the enemy shaman is. But all we want to do is go into basically dismantling their buildings as quickly as we can. We want to get in there before they build a preacher hut, basically. If you're too slow, there will be a preacher hut. We're not worried about a fire warrior hut. But preachers, obviously, as we have 22 braves and nothing else, preachers will ruin the strategy pretty swiftly. I'm staying away from the western side of her base because that's where the shaman is, and I don't want her unloading spells until I've done significant damage. Sometimes she doesn't unload spells at all. Sometimes you go near her and she's fireball central, and you've got braves flying everywhere, and you've got to try and do the same amount of damage with 5 followers. Don't be afraid to use her wild men to reinforce your army. If you don't, she will use it to bolster her own population, so it's an even bigger swing in your advantage if you can grab those. I really shouldn't have let her finish the warrior training hut, but I was very lucky that she didn't train any warriors, and we can get her with the cheeky lightning spell. When I'm doing rush techniques, I generally always go for the lightning spell once I've got the first two basic spells, because it's the shaman removing tool. You want to save it just for the enemy shaman so that she doesn't mess up your rush with some shenanigans. Huts like the boat training hut, they don't do anything but produce boats, so you can really prioritize those last. You really want to be taking out any signs of a preacher training hut and any huts that could be producing new followers or braves. So at this point she enters desperation, and this will bring us towards the end of this mission as well. It's very, very straightforward, these two missions. The intended strategy for number 8 is very fun, and I do recommend you do it the intended way. Lord help you if you want to do the intended strat of this mission. I absolutely hate this mission. It features boat usage and all manner of ridiculousness. I think she even volcanoes you at one point. But yes, that's missions 8 and 9. So that was missions 8 and 9, and we got through them pretty quickly, and I'm pretty happy with how they went. I personally don't mind mission 8, doing it the intended strat, but I absolutely despise mission 9. It is very, very obnoxious. Other than that, as always, let me know in the comments below what you thought and what you'd like to see me do. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.